always been fascinated with skincare and just beauty in general. It's just been part of my life, but I didn't know how to go about into making it happen. And so I really wanted to put all my life experiences like in this bottle, right? It's like, how can I like share my experiences of my travel, the people, the culture that I've encountered and, got to experience in this bottle. And I wanted to make it personal. And for me, that was the most rewarding part of the job, was just seeing everyone, celebrating, their culture, the diversity of the people. That to me was like the most beautiful part about my job. And so I really wanted to, bring that to life, like let people see their true beauty, And so that's when I started thinking about RÄJINS, is like, how can, I not have people like feel so, I guess, inferior to their skin color.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Startup CPG podcast. This is Grace, and I am back with another founder feature. Today, I'm talking to Jilleo Recio, the founder of RÄJINS. RÄJINS is a luxury, well-aging skincare brand that champions all skin tones. Their all-encompassing serum was actually our 2024 Shelfie Awards skincare winner, and all of the judges were truly obsessed with this product, and we may have shed a few tears when we finished the bottle. The all-encompassing serum is infused with nutrient-rich botanicals and peptides that help hydrate the skin, improve the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles, and even out skin tone. I love what Jilleo is building with RÄJINS, and I cannot wait for you all to hear about all of the ups and downs that has come in the process of creating this beautiful brand. I hope you enjoy the episode, and as always, let me know what you think. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Startup CPG podcast. Today, I'm so excited to be joined by Jilleo Recio, the founder of RÄJINS Skincare. RÄJINS is a luxury, well-aging skincare brand, and their all-encompassing serum recently won a 2024 Shelfies Award. I loved using their all-encompassing serum. I recently ran out and was very sad, but it truly is what the name suggests, which is I used it in the morning, I used it at night, and I feel like it made my skin just glowy and I felt beautiful. But welcome to the show, Jilleo. I'd love for you to introduce yourself and RÄJINS.
Hi, thanks, Grace. Yes, my name is Jilleo, and I'm the founder of RÄJINS. Okay. Oh, sorry.
I'm good.
Do I talk about, like, from there, I'll just kind of talk about I kind of don't know how to lead into it. So I'll just say, like,
just say, my name's Jilleo, I'm founder of RÄJINS, and who is RÄJINS? Like, just give us your like sentence, boiler pitch, and then I'll dive into the origin story.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So let's try it again.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Grace. Yes, my name is Jilleo, and I am the founder of RÄJINS. RÄJINS is a luxury, well-aging skincare designed for maturing melanin-rich skin. I'm really excited to be here and to talk to you more about the brand.
Yes, I'm so excited to learn more. So first and foremost, what led you to create RÄJINS, and why did you decide that, the world needed this product?
Yeah, so the origin behind RÄJINS, kind of taking a step back, just to kind of give you a background. I was born and raised in the US, and I had the opportunity in 2018 to live and work abroad in Singapore. So while I was in Singapore, I was working at an influencer marketing agency, and then later on a music record label company. And in my role, I was a business development manager, and part of my job was to negotiate brand deals for the influencers as well as the recording music artists. And a lot of the brands that actually fell onto my lap were these beauty brands. And in Asia, there is this, for lack of better words, I don't know how to describe it. I would say like obsession with like skin lightening and skin whitening. And for me, coming from the US, it was so, I guess, let me try it again. I guess for me, like coming from the US, it was so, I guess, unique or different. Like I couldn't really understand why people wanted to like change the color of their skin. And it was some of those things I would see quite often. And I wanted to, flip that narrative because in part of my role at my job was being able to travel across all these countries. So while I was living there, I also had the opportunity to travel across all over Southeast Asia and really got to experience the culture, the people. And for me, that was the most rewarding part of the job, was just seeing everyone, just, celebrating, their culture, the diversity of the people. That to me was like the most beautiful part about my job. And so I really wanted to, bring that to life, like let people see their true beauty, And so that's when I started thinking about RĒJINS, is like, how can, I not have people like feel so, I guess, inferior to their skin color. And that got me thinking. And I myself, I'm a skincare enthusiast. It's just been part of my my life growing up. I've always been into skincare. And so one of the things that I also noticed that was quite popular in Asia was like this whole like 10, 12, 15 step skincare routine. And in my job, I was always traveling. And so I was packing up all my skincare products. And for me, that felt like it was just not efficient. I remember one time when I was in Bangkok, I was there for work. And one of the expensive creams that I bought had like fallen, and I felt so, like heartbroken because it was an expensive bottle, and and there was just like, I was like thinking to myself, okay, there's got to be like easier way to do this, and so that's what kind of like got me thinking about RĒJINS, was kind of create something that was, that celebrates our natural skin tone, our heritage, our culture, at the same time having it be super like efficient. And that's kind of like what got me thinking about the brand and the product. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that mission. And it's definitely something that we don't see so explicitly stated, I feel like, of like skincare that celebrates. We see like beauty brands, I feel like makeup brands that are celebrating, a wider range of skin tones. But I think we see that less with beauty brands, or at least in my limited experience. And you're Filipino yourself, correct?
Yes, I'm Filipino.
Yeah. So I imagine it's also personal for you as well in this experience.
I feel like growing up as Filipino, a lot of Filipinos can attest to this, is that when we were kids, like, our parents would always say, like, don't go out in the sun, you're going to get dark, make sure, you cover your face and things like that. It was just, it can be really like, it can be very absurd. So I just really wanted, to create a product that just champions our heritage, our culture, and our natural skin shade. So with our serum, there's no like bleaching or whitening ingredients at all. So that's what I really wanted to put out there.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm sure many people can relate to that experience, even across, ethnicities and races. One question I had, I have a lot of questions actually, but one of my first questions is also about the name RĒJINS. Obviously it's pronounced like RĒJINS, REGIONS, but not spelled that way, spelled REJINS. So I was curious what the inspiration behind the name was and how you landed on that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So RĒJINS, yes, it's my take on the word RĒJINS, and it was inspired just again from my love of travel. Again, visiting all these countries while I was living in Asia. And so I really wanted to put all my life experiences like in this bottle, right? It's like, how can I like share my experiences of my travel, the people, the culture that I've encountered and, got to experience in this bottle. And I wanted to make it personal. So RĒJINS, actually the first four letters, RE, is from my last name, Recio, and JI from Jilleo. And so I wanted to just kind of marry the two. And that's how RĒJINS came to be.
That's so sweet. And now it's making me
Yeah.
think of before we got on this call, Jilleo was talking about how their name is a combination of your parents' name, right?
Yes.
Or your
Jill
parents'
and Leo.
names. Yes. So you kind of took that same inspo, but for
Yeah.
your brand baby, not a human baby.
Exactly.
I love it. That's really sweet. So, another question I had, which obviously so many founders have, is you have this idea, right? You're like, okay, I want to create a skincare product that celebrates melanated skin tones that is more, all purpose, is not like 15,000 different steps. So, you have this idea. What were your next steps to actually making it happen?
So while I was in Singapore, when I had this idea, again, while I was living and working there, I had no idea how to bring it to life, really. Um, I've always been fascinated with skincare and just beauty in general. It's just been part of my life, but I didn't know how to go about into making it happen. So I just went on Google one day and I just Googled, you know, building a skincare brand skincare ingredients for melanin-rich skin. And it just so happened that one of the search results that popped up was this trade show called In Cosmetics, and it was in Seoul, Korea. And I had no idea what to do, but I thought I would just go, just visit the show. And so I looked on their website, and it just so happened that at that time when I was searching, that the event was going to be I think it was maybe a month out. So I said, I'll just give it a shot. I don't really know what to expect. So let me just book my ticket and just go. So I booked my ticket. Well, I first purchased a ticket for the trade show, and then I bought my ticket to Seoul, and I just began just researching from there. I went on the website, and there was a section where you can book meetings with the ingredient suppliers and everything. But they were asking a lot of questions like, oh, what is your company name, your company address? How many products do you have? Are you looking? All these questions as if I was an actual brand, which I didn't have yet. So I just made up a fake company name. I think I called it something very generic like JR Skincare. It was just basically my initials.
Yeah.
And then I proceeded to make fake business cards with that JR Skincare company name. And I would then just start reaching out to, I looked at who was going to be there at this trade show, and I looked at what their offerings were, and I just started to set up meetings with them. So I just cold email them and say, hey, my name is Jilleo. I'm the founder of JR Skincare. Would love to meet with you. And they actually, they actually replied, and I actually got a meeting with them. And so when I went to the trade show, I actually had meetings with these ingredient suppliers and manufacturers as well. And that from there, I just sort of talked to them, just began networking, made some contacts. Didn't really know what I was doing, but I was just kind of going with the flow. And and then I ended up finding a contract manufacturer there that said that they would work with me, and we just began exchanging information, and I told them what my vision was, and from there they created some samples for me. And then of course the pandemic happened, because this was around, I forgot to tell you, this was around 2019, and then the pandemic was again in 2020. So that kind of threw things off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when did you get back to it, after the pandemic threw things off?
Yeah. So when the pandemic hit, didn't really know what I was going to do at that point, because I was in Asia, I was in Singapore. and my family's in the US. And so I didn't, it was like a very, there's a lot of uncertainties. Everyone was afraid, of course. You watch the news and you hear all these deaths. And one of the things that really scared me was that how a lot of like elderly people were dying from COVID. So my parents are elderly, and so that kind of shook me. So I then decided to leave and come back to the US to be closer to family, just because I wasn't sure what was going to happen, and I just wanted to be around in case anything did happen. So that propelled me back to the US in 2020. And from there, I had to basically life was like just put on pause. And so from there, I kind of fell into like a really dark place, because I came in and, I was totally in isolation, couldn't go out, had very limited contact with family. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of put me in this dark place. And I didn't have any friends that I could meet and talk to, really, because it's been so long since I've been back in the US. And so I just talked to my brother, and my brother was the one that really inspired me to continue working on this project. So during the pandemic, I just started working on the things that I could work on, the branding, the copy, things like that. And I just kind of did that while I was in lockdown, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's an experience so many founders can probably share, is so many people started things either before the pandemic or right at the beginning of the pandemic, and were just sort of forced to slow down and work on the things they could, because so much was not available to work on. So I think that everybody can probably relate in some way or another. But so you were figuring out the branding, you had this contact with the contract manufacturer. Did you end up going back to that same person once you were able to?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I did, actually, and but I wasn't sure what was happening at their company, because I noticed that there were a lot of delays in responses from them. So they weren't responding on time, and I wasn't sure if they were still in business. So so that also kind of threw a curveball, because I had done all this work, right, in 2019, and I felt like I had to start over again. And then there was the issue with supply chain. Lots of companies were having issues with things not arriving on time, lots of delays. And so because my contacts were overseas and I was in the US now, and the time difference, it just made it really complicated. So I actually had to pivot. I had to find another contract manufacturer. And I would say that's one of the hardest parts, especially being a small brand, is because when you are dealing with contract manufacturers, it's the MOQs that will get you. I'm sure you know this, and you talk to a lot of founders too, especially in beauty. I mean, some of the MOQs are as 10,000, 20,000.
Oh my God.
It's just something that I could just not do right at my current stage, being a really small brand. But I didn't let that stop me. I had this idea. I was so passionate about it. I really wanted to, bring it to life, because I'd done all this work. And so I wanted to make sure that I see it through. And so finding the contract manufacturer also took, I would say, probably about another year. If I look back on it, I spoke with so many, contract manufacturers, and these were all through Zoom and everything, and so getting them, to get on a meeting was also tough. And, so there were a lot of challenges. But what I learned in that process is, when I did, get in touch with some of these manufacturers that had high MOQs, I just asked them, look, you are like the 10th, 100th person I've spoken to that are telling me like, you need like 10,000, 20,000 MOQs. Is there anyone that you know in your network that can work with a brand of my size? And so there was actually one contract manufacturer that referred me to an industry friend of theirs that then was able to work with my low MOQs. So
Yeah. That's
but
such
that was
yeah, it's such a common problem, and it's so challenging because it's so
yeah,
expensive to put
it's
in
so
such a
expensive.
large
Yeah,
order. But
and I was gonna say like and also being a new brand, there's no guarantee that I'm gonna be able to like push
yeah.
all that inventory. So
Yeah, right. It would be so
yeah,
much inventory to sit on and just like have in your house or something. Where would you
yeah,
even store it all? But I love that too, that you were just asking for referrals as well, because if you don't
uh-huh.
ask, you don't know. And sometimes some of
Exactly.
the places that do work with smaller brands, because they're not big, they're not as easy to find because they're not
Yeah,
necessarily going to come up first on your search and things like that. So I
yeah,
love that you were just asking for referrals. So you finally found a manufacturer that
yeah,
could work with you, and you guys,
yeah.
did you start collaborating on, sending samples back and forth? Did you have to kind of start over from what you had created back in 2019?
We'll be right back.
Is your CPG business taking off? You can easily check off the EDI capable box as you break into retail. SPS Commerce is your gateway to retail growth. With over 1 million existing trading connections and counting, you get instant access to the largest network of up-to-date, mapped EDI connections to retailers, distributors, 3PLs, brokers, and other supply chain partners without doing any of the heavy lifting yourself. With over 20 years of experience, SPS Commerce is the partner you can trust to get you up and running quickly and be there to scale with you as you grow. Plus, their team of experts is available 24/7 for support, ensuring you have everything you need. Visit spscommerce.com today to book a demo or learn more.
And now, back to the show.
Yeah, I did. So while I was in Singapore, I was also working with a chemist there as well. And so they were helping me come up with the formula. And so I was like, I did my research. I knew what ingredients I loved. I knew what ingredients I look for when I buy these products. And so I had this idea of like, okay, I know what ingredients I want in my product. And I was working with a chemist, again, back in Singapore. But then again, things shifted, and so I had to like start from scratch. But I had, the list of ingredients. I had some, like concept, right? And so the other thing I had to do was also find a chemist, because what was important to me was that I owned the formula, and so so that I own the IP, right? So that was important to me. So before finding the manufacturer, actually, I was also looking for a chemist as well, to kind of help finish what was started, and that also took a long time because I made so many mistakes. I think I don't know. There was this one chemist that I was working with, and the samples that she gave me were just so bad. I mean, I would get samples that where the formula, the color would change. The product would like separate. Some of it just smelled really awful, and so that really also was like something I had to overcome. And I think going through that, there were lots of times where I felt like giving up because I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like this is like what am I even doing? You like self-doubt just starts to like creep into your head. But, I was like, what, I'm not going to give up. I just kept moving forward. And so I said, okay, one of the things I had to like remind myself was that in this whole process, I had to keep reminding myself, like, this is not a race, it's a journey, right? It's not a race. It's like, there's no deadline really that I'm trying to meet. So it's like, if it's going to take this amount of time, it's going to take this amount of time. But I wanted to make sure I did it right. So I made sure that I, researched the chemist this time around. I wanted to make sure that, I could get I could see some of their testimonials, things like that, just to make sure that this person is reputable, that they can be trusted. And so I did finally find one after, again, like months of like searching. And it was that chemist that I worked with was the one that helped me bring the all-encompassing serum to life.
Yeah, no, and that makes so much sense. And sometimes you think someone looks great and super talented, and then turns out, not the one, and you have to kind of go back to the drawing board. But something I'd love to hear a little bit about, maybe for the people among us, or people who are listening who are not skincare junkies, if you will, could you tell us a little bit about what all-encompassing serum is and why you chose the ingredients you did?
Yeah, so the all-encompassing serum is a multitasking serum. So again, going back to the whole idea of having just a streamlined skincare routine, not having so many steps. So I launched the all-encompassing serum to help just again streamline your skincare rituals, specifically around well aging, because I myself am in my 40s. And I wanted something that, addresses a lot of like skin concerns of people around my age, which are like fine lines and wrinkles, dryness, an uneven skin tone. So the ingredients that you'll find in the all-encompassing serum, you'll find peptides. Peptides are really great at, stimulating collagen. And you'll also have ingredients to help even out skin tone, so like niacinamide and licorice root. And for the hydration part, because as we get older, our skin tends to get drier, especially for melanin-rich skin. So there's ingredients there like humectants, like glycerin, and then you also have green algae also to help with the hydration. So it really is like multitasking. Again, like you can use it day and night right after you cleanse your face.
Yeah. And I'm honestly shocked to hear you're in your 40s. So if anyone needs an advertisement for how good RÄJINS all-encompassing serum is, just look at Jilleo's face, because you never guess. Not to make you bashful, but I was like, oh, I had no idea. You're like 10 years younger than that.
Oh, no.
But congrats on making such an effective serum then,
Yeah. I mean, the peptides for me is really like, I think that's the ingredient that really, I think, like helps the serum, like I love I look for peptides in almost all the skincare products that I use.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you just launched about a year and a half ago. So, still young, still learning, still growing. I'm curious, once you launched, it had taken so much time to get there. It had taken, I guess you started working in 2019, you launched in the spring of 2023. So it had taken like 4 years to get there. Once you were able to launch, what have you been doing to, actually get the product out there? Because now you have this beautiful product that you put so much energy into. How have you gotten it to customers, in front of customers, and made sure people actually tried it and bought it?
Yeah, so I don't think I shared this with you. I was also working a full-time job in corporate. So I was working my full-time job while also building RÄJINS. And so I have a very unique, I guess, situation. Well, I should say unique, because I know a lot of brand founders are also working full-time while also building their business. But I was working full-time. And so it felt like, that kind of contributed to, actually, let me start over. So I was working full time in tech, actually, and I just recently left a few weeks ago to really, to pursue this full time, because I felt like I really wasn't giving the attention that RÄJINS needed to grow, right? So, when you're working full time, it was challenging because I was having to juggle between the two. And really, I only had, after, my full-time job, I really could only work on it from 7 p.m. until bedtime, basically. And, and on the weekends. And so it was really hard to juggle that because I was just always so tired after my full-time job.
Yeah.
And I felt like I wasn't giving any energy at all to RĒJINS. And RĒJINS is really my baby. You know, I want it to grow. I need to like nurture it. And so I made the decision a few weeks ago to leave my corporate job to really pursue this full time. And so, you know, since I've launched, while I was working full time, I was, doing like makers markets, a lot of these pop-up events just to get them in the hands of, you know, my target audience. And I think I did maybe like over 20 events in 2023 when I launched.
Yeah.
And with those events, I mean, they can be very exhausting. I mean, you are out in the sun for like 8+ hours, you know, the setup and then just and talking to the customers and, you know, so it's a really long day. And so I was doing that, but it was great because I got to build up my email list. I got to talk to the customers, understand like what their skin concerns are, what did they look for in a product. So it's really great in getting all this like market research, right? While also building my email list. And it's also a great way to also network because you'll never know who you'll bump into or who will stop by your booth. So from there, these events, I was able to network and connect with people. And one of the vendors actually referred me to a friend of his that was in LA, a small boutique retailer. The name is, his shop is called Messiah. And so he introduced me to him and I was able to share my product with the store owner. And I was able to, build that connection and he brought my product in. He tested the product, he liked it. And now, he brought it into his store. And from there, it just sort of like snowballed, so you just talk to people, you network, and you just get in touch with people and they kind of give you referrals. So I did a pop-up event at his store and I met this woman there. She's actually a customer, now a friend of mine. Her name is Kat. Hi, Kat, if she's listening to this. And she introduced me to her network, and it just so happens that one of the person in her network is all about like female empowerment. She runs like this community about just empowering women, and she is she's like one of the, I guess, how do you say? She's like, actually, let me start over. She's one of the organizers of the Emmys, right? Oh, wow. And so we just connected, and she introduced me to her, and now, actually today, we'll be going to the Emmys gifting lounge where I get to showcase my products to the nominees. So it's just it's just my main take. The main point is like I'm trying to make is that networking is just very important. So networking is the one thing that can help your brand just by being out there and talking to other other people in the industry or other entrepreneurs, because you'll never know. And at the same time, we're all in this together. Like I think that's the one thing that's really important about being an entrepreneur is that the importance of networking and just helping each other when you see someone that needs help, because we've all been in their shoes at one point, and we're all like at different stages, right? And so I might be like 2 steps ahead of someone, right? And so if I can help that person based off what I've learned, I'm all about that. And then again, another person could be like 2 steps ahead of me, and so I can always ask them for advice. Yeah. So
that's amazing.
I don't know if that answered your question. But
no, it definitely did. It definitely did. Yeah. And absolutely speaks to just the power of networking, and like you never know
Yeah.
who might connect you to who, and a customer might connect you to a retailer, or a retailer might connect you to,
Yeah.
some chemist or something like that. And so I think
Exactly.
that's a great reminder to everybody, because you can get so in your own world when you're working on a brand. I feel like you can
Yeah.
just be in your own head, in your own room, like working on the computer all day. And it's such an important reminder to say, like, get out there, and who knows,
Yeah.
maybe you'll be at the Emmys getting to
Yeah.
introduce your product to a bunch of wonderful actors, actresses, writers, etc. So
Yeah.
that's amazing.
And I
So exciting.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that I also learned is also, being able to, well, let me take a step back again. One of the important things that I also learned is finding a mentor, because having a mentor can really help. My mentor is, her name is Anne. She's the founder of House of M Beauty. Again, hi Anne, if she's listening. um, so she's been really, great in, connecting me also with her network. So again, it's all just about like paying it forward when you can, because we all know like how lonesome this journey can be and how challenging it can be, and a lot of the times you're always like in your head, right? So if you can just sort of like find someone that you can just like talk to and just kind of bounce ideas off of, that for me is like really helpful.
We'll be right back.
Are you paying a ton in shipping to send out products, samples, and whatever else? The fees really add up, but lucky for you, we now have a partner that gets you access to the discounted shipping rates that are usually only available to those big companies. I worked with them for my last beverage brand, and I can tell you they definitely got us savings. Whether you're sending overnight samples, fulfilling e-commerce orders, or even a 40-foot ocean container, our partner, Enterprise Purchasing Group, or EPG, has got you covered. There are a bunch of free benefits you can get by signing up with them. You can get up to an 86% discount on small parcel shipments from UPS, DHL Express, UPS, and more. You get really competitive LTL and FTL rates through UPS. You get discounted spot and fixed ocean rates through Flexport and Maersk. You get exclusive air freights, and you also get preferential terms with supply chain financing. All you need to do is reach out to Francis Agas. His email is francis, Francis, at enterprisepurchasing.com. Mention the Startup CPG discount and take advantage of those savings. Good luck, everybody, and happy shipping.
And now, back to the show.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask is, I feel like so often people say things like, find a mentor. And a question I have is, how do you find a mentor,
So I'll tell you how I found my mentor.
Yeah.
So I was listening to a podcast that she had done. She was on a podcast and she was sharing her story about how she built her brand and her journey, and it really resonated with me because she's also Asian, and she launched this beautiful, successful beauty brand again called House of M, and after I just like listened to that podcast, I just felt compelled to like reach out to her, and I just shot her a DM like on Instagram, and I didn't really think she was going to respond, because she's busy, and I was like, all these things were running in my head. Oh, she's busy, she's not gonna talk to me, or I'm a small brand, she doesn't know who I am. Why would she respond to me? So you have all these things that like running through your head, right? But again, it's one of those things like you'll never know if you don't ask. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to send her a message because I really enjoyed the podcast I listened to. She was very inspiring, and I sent her a message, and she replied like within like a day, like maybe even less than a day. And the next thing I know, she was like, "Hey, do you want to like jump on a Zoom and chat?" And so we chatted over Zoom, and we've been, in touch ever since. Like she's been instrumental in helping me, and we have monthly check-ins. So yeah, it's just like just sending a DM.
Yeah.
Like, I know it sounds like it sounds crazy, or maybe not so crazy, but I think a lot of the times we, especially for me, because like I'm an introvert, right? So, but you just can't be shy. You have to like, especially if you're an introvert like me, you have to like just force yourself to come out of your comfort zone, and like you just can't be shy,
Totally.
and that's one thing I also learned also when I go to these like industry events, it's just like, just put yourself out there, introduce yourself, network, you know, and wherever you can, you know, just make yourself seen, you know? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Hmm.
I definitely resonate with that too as well. You know, you can't be shy and you have to be a little bit shameless and just ask people,
Yeah.
you know, you
Yeah.
just can't like hold yourself back because really you'll
Yeah.
just be getting in your own way at that point.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but
Yeah.
now that you've left your job, your full-time job, and you
Hmm.
have all of your attention on
Hmm.
regions, what are some
Hmm.
of your goals in this all this time now? As I'm sure the time
Yeah.
fills up very quickly, but what are some
Yeah.
of your goals for regions now that you're going all in?
Yeah. So because this is like my first, like, you know, business, like I've never launched a business at all, you know, whatsoever. There's a lot of things I don't know. And so, but what I do know is that I do want to expand the collection, so the line. So I'm working on, you know, building out and creating, you know, new products to complement the serum. Um, and really, the focus is just to, you know, get more distribution. So, you know, one of my goals really is to, you know, exhibit at these trade shows, potentially, you know, find a retailer that resonates, that's aligned with the brand. At the same time, also building partnerships locally. That's been really successful so far for RÄJINS is, you know, partnering with like local estheticians, spas, you know, specialty retailers. That's been really successful. So just trying to build that network is kind of like the focus that I'm, you know, working on. Since I've left the corporate world. And there's just a lot. There's a lot to consider and think about, you know. But basically, it's just kind of going in, really analyzing like the business, trying to see what's working, what's not working. Do I need to pivot? You know, all those things. I mean, there's a million things in my head.
Of course. Of course,
Yeah,
I'm
you
sure.
know.
And I'm so excited to
Yeah.
see, you know, what other products you come up with. But my
Mhm.
final question, in the spirit of paying it forward, as you said, if someone were to
Yeah.
come to you that was in your position, you know, 4 years or 5 years ago now, when you were
Yeah.
first even thinking about creating regions and were going to that
Mhm.
first trade show in Seoul, what
Yeah.
piece of advice would you give them as they were, you know, this new brand creator?
Yeah, I would say, you know, just trust your instinct, like trust your intuition, you know, like if you really feel passionate about, you know, your brand, your product, like do everything and anything you can to like bring it to life. I mean, you're going to encounter a lot of like challenges and roadblocks, and that's inevitable. I think there's no real blueprint, you know, in launching a successful business because it's different for everyone. But I would say like the biggest advice I would say is really just networking. I think that's the biggest thing. Like go to those, you know, industry events, go to those trade shows, walk the floor, find a mentor, reach out to other like-minded individuals, people who are, you know, there to like uplift you because, you know, a lot of the times when you put yourself out there and you kind of like when you're sharing your dream and vision, you also open yourself up to a lot of like scrutiny and critique, right? So my advice is to not, you know, be around any sort of energy or people that bring you down. Rather, go the opposite and join these groups. You know, find those people that you know resonate with you and build that network. And just you know, don't be afraid to like ask for help either. You know, because I
Yeah.
think again we don't have the answers to like everything. You know, and the one thing you can do is just to again find someone who has been through that and is willing to help. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a big believer on paying it forward. So if anybody, again, I'm very early in my journey myself, but if there's anything I can do to also help other people, you can always reach out to me on DM on Instagram. I'm pretty responsive, I would say. So if you want to shoot me a message, feel free. I'm always open to helping others also.
I love it. And like I said, I'm a huge fan of your all-encompassing serum. It really works so well. And honestly, lasted me a really long time, even though I was using it every day. So good bang for your buck as well, which is something we didn't even get into. But, maybe in a few years when RĒJINS is a global brand, we'll do another interview. But it was so much fun to chat with you. And where can people learn more about RĒJINS if they're curious and buy the product?
Yeah, so you can learn more about RĒJINS on our website. So it's RĒJINSwellness.com. That's spelled RĒJINS, REJINS, wellness.com. And you can also find us on Instagram at RĒJINS Wellness. So just I'm the only person managing that account. So, if you do DM me, you'll be getting a response from me. So feel free to shoot me a DM or, you can also fill out a form on the website if you have any questions.
Amazing. Well, everybody flood Jilleo's inbox, make him regret that he ever said that people could ask him for advice. But no, also just check out the product. It's amazing. And it was so much fun to have you on the show. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you, Grace. I had so much fun. Thank you so much.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, it would help us out so much if you left a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I am Grace Kennedy, the editor for Startup CPG, so feel free to add me on LinkedIn or reach out to me on Slack. I'm always on the hunt for new and exciting brands to feature. And if you're a potential sponsor that would like to appear on the podcast, please email partnerships@startupcpg.com. And finally, as a reminder for anyone listening, if you haven't already, we would love for you to join our community on Slack, and you can sign up via our website, startupcpg.com.